Jennifer Walters, cousin of Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, becomes infused with Hulk-like strength to become She-Hulk today on Comic History. What's up guys, Roman from RNS Entertainment here, and welcome to yet another episode of Comic History, the weekly series where I retell and explain the iconic origins, storylines, and events in the world of comics. In this episode, I am going to be talking about the creation of a character that historically I actually never knew much about, She-Hulk. Having read Marvel since childhood, and from reading Marvel's events and storylines that crossed over with She-Hulk during her time on teams like the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and Heroes for Hire among others, I was always familiar with She-Hulk, but being mostly an X-Men and Spider-Man fan, and not really being a big enough fan of the Hulk to look into his supporting characters, I only recently delved into the character's history and have been reading the John Byrne's sensational She-Hulk series, which was the longest running female Marvel hero title of its time, at 60 issues, which is still really solid for today. And the character is actually really fun and ends up being a unique self-referential voice in the Marvel comics of the time, breaking the fourth wall in a not quite Deadpool way, and really pushing the limits of what the Comics Code Authority would allow Marvel to publish at the time. Although She-Hulk as a character and as a standalone title did eventually gain success and enough popularity to have off and on solo titles all the way to this day, having been written by some solid writers including her creator Stan Lee, though only in her origin issue, John Byrne, Peter David, and others. Jennifer Walters aka She-Hulk actually had a less than artistically motivated beginning as a character. With the Lou Ferrigno Hulk television series at the height of its popularity and competing for ratings with the Bionic Woman, Marvel feared that the Bionic Woman television executives would introduce a female version of the Hulk to piggyback off of the Hulk show's success. And so to beat them to the punch, created Jennifer Walters, the She-Hulk, in 1980 to ensure that they would hold the rights to any similar character if Bionic Woman decided to do it. Stan Lee wrote the first issue of Savage She-Hulk, the first ongoing book for the character and also her origin story, and though the entire rest of the series is written by David Kraft, Stan Lee does keep the credit for creating She-Hulk, which was almost the last character he ever made for Marvel, until he returned in the 1990s to create a character in the Spider-Man 2099 universe that no one cares about or remembers. Should've stopped at Jenny, Stan. She-Hulk's origin begins in Savage She-Hulk number 1, where Dr. Bruce Banner, exhausted from constantly being on the run from the police and military during his life as the Hulk, turns to his cousin Jennifer Walters for help and support, tracking her down in Los Angeles where she had become a criminal lawyer. Banner approaches Jen in her office, with her surprised and excited to see him as they had been out of contact since Banner went into nuclear physics. Sensing something is wrong with her cousin, Jen asks Bruce why he came to see her, and he opens up to her, telling her that he had been on the run from the police and the military, and when Jen asks what Bruce had done, he tells her that it wasn't something he did, it was something he became. Banner then recounts to Jen his origin as the Hulk, having become embroiled in his work to harness gamma radiation in a warhead called a G-bomb. Banner rushes onto an active test site to save a careless teenager who had driven into the blast radius. Igor, Banner's co-worker who hated Banner and thought his research was dangerous and foolish, allows the bomb to detonate with Banner outside, and though he is able to save the teenager by throwing him into a trench, Banner is blasted by gamma radiation and transformed into the Incredible Hulk. Jen insists that Bruce come home with her, and from when they leave her office, they're followed by hitmen hired by Bolivar Trask, the creator of the Anti-Mutant Sentinel program, who Jen was defending a client from in court who Trask had set up for murder. Not taking the danger she was in seriously, Jen had planted a rumor that she had evidence on Trask to quote-unquote shake him up, which results in her being shot by Trask's men the second they arrive at her house. As the hitman prepares to finish Jen off, Banner uses a water hose to spray him in the eyes and somehow not get shot. As the hitmen speed away, Banner carries Jen outside and says that they don't have time to wait for an ambulance, and somehow finds a doctor's house, which is full of medical equipment and with no one home. Banner breaks into the house and prepares to give Jen a blood transfusion to keep her from bleeding out, and after the procedure calls the police to get Jen further medical attention. With Jen unconscious and shot, Banner is taken in as a suspect, and fearing his identity being found out, he becomes enraged and smashes through the wall to escape. Banner stays in a hotel until the next day, and when he sees that Jin is going to recover in the newspaper, he leaves town knowing that the police and government would be looking for him now. In the hospital, Jen quickly deduces that Bruce had left due to him being scared of being found out as the Hulk, and decides to devote her attention towards proving Trask guilty. Suddenly, 3 of Trask's men fill into her room, dressed as doctors but clearly looking like mobsters, and they quickly grab her and shove a chloroform rag in her face, which triggers Jen's rage and causes the gamma-irradiated blood of Bruce Banner to manifest a Hulk form that blasts the men off of her with such force that they don't even realize it came from Jen. Calling this giant green woman they now see as She-Hulk, the men shoot at her but are blocked when Jen lifts up the bed between them, and then turn and run as she throws it across the room and chases after them. As She-Hulk, Jen's strength and durability are increased by her anger, but she doesn't have out-of-control rage like the Hulk, or lose her ability to reason and think as Jennifer Walters. Since Banner's blood was only a transfusion and thus diluted by her own, her strength and durability are also weaker than the Hulk's, so she has a trade-off with less difficulty controlling herself, but less power as well. She-Hulk chases Trask's men to the elevator, wrenching open the metal doors and grabbing the elevator cable, stopping it a floor down as Jen rips through the ceiling. The men open the door and exit a floor down, and She-Hulk bowls through actual hospital employees attempting to stop her as she runs down the stairs and finds the hitmen peeling off in a car. Ripping a light pole out of the ground, Jen throws it at the fleeing car and knocks all the tires off, pulling the men out and getting a confession in front of police officers of Trask ordering them to kill her. Jen then runs away from the police, who stay to book Trask's men instead of chasing down a giant green woman. Jen manages to make it back into the hospital and up the stairs to her room, receding from her She-Hulk state as her anger subsides. With her room having been destroyed in the fight, she slips into the room next door and isn't found out as She-Hulk. And as Jen realizes that Banner's blood had given her superpowers, that is the end of She-Hulk's origin, a Stan Lee origin story that led to a semi-successful ongoing, and then a much more well-received title that takes the character in a great direction and made her unique. This origin story is honestly too flimsy for the time it was written, and reminds me more of Lee's earlier hasty origin number 1s in the 1960s, like the origin of the X-Men, which I have covered extensively in another comic history episode. Aside from that, Banner made some ridiculous decisions and took responsibility for none of them, which is a strange way to set up a supporting character in his mythos. If you enjoyed this episode or learned something new, make sure to give it a thumbs up, let me know in the comment section below what you think of She-Hulk as a character, and what stories you'd like to see in future episodes, and subscribe to my channel, where I'll have videos coming out 3 times a week, with history videos on Monday, comic rants in the middle of the week, and the Whiskey and Comics podcast on Fridays. If you'd like to support my channel and help keep videos coming, you can also consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can also get access to cool perks like extra videos that won't be posted to YouTube, commissions on history and origin videos, promotion for your own YouTube channel or whatever, and other stuff like that, along with being a huge help while YouTube is still acting weird towards content creators. Thanks to Drew Miles for being a $10 patron this month, and I will see you all next time.